Rev up your engines!
Well, Toyota and Subaru are being sued over engine issues in their GR86 and the BRZ. If you remember, they came out with a sports car years ago, and they weren't Toyotas. They were just rebadged Subarus with Subaru four-cylinder boxer engines that aren't the greatest engines in the world, right? Well, now people that own them are so peed, they got a class action lawsuit going. Oil starvation and oil pressure issues in the boxer engines had led to the engines coming apart. Some blew up with as little as 20,000 miles. Some with 61,000 miles. The warranty is good for 60,000 miles. Now, this is what I tell people. Subarus, some of them are okay, but they are cheaper made. Instead of using gaskets in places, they use air-dried silicone sealant. And guess what happens to silicone sealant that's air-dried? Eventually it cracks and it leaks. So take a regular four-cylinder Toyota engine, it's got regular gaskets, but the Subaru engines, a lot of them have the glue instead. It works fine until the glue cracks and dries up. Well, just think, if you were silicone glue and you're on a hot engine, what's going to happen? You're going to get hot, you're going to get cold. Hot, cold, and eventually you're going to crack. And they do, and then they leak. People don't pay enough attention half the time. They blow up. That's the thing about Toyotas, at least in the past. Toyotas were so bulletproof that people wouldn't check their oil. They wouldn't do anything. And they kept driving them because they kept lasting so long without having any problems. They're having a few problems now, but go back 10 years ago, right? No, they just run and run and run. So if you thought you were buying a Toyota, but it's really a rebadged Subaru, and you treated it like a Toyota, yes, the engine will blow up because it has to be watched closer because it doesn't have the gaskets. It's got glue instead. And they just use glue. You might think, well, why on earth would they use glue instead of a gasket? It's cheaper to manufacture them instead of having a whole line of gaskets that they have to have all set up every time they build an engine. Put the two gaskets in, bolt them on. They can just have a glue gun go put another one on. It's not cheaper, faster to manufacture them that way, and that's why they do it. But now they're being sued, and ha, ha, ha. That's all I have to say. They'll teach Toyota for calling Subarus Toyotas, because they aren't. They're still Subarus. You know, I seen that video where that Subaru owner buys a car, and then he crashes it into the Subaru dealership through the window, smashes everything up, because he was mad at him. This was in a Utah car dealership. Michael Lee Murray was 35 years old. He told, take it back, it's junk. They said to him, well, you bought it as is, too bad. Well, the guy obviously went overboard, got arrested, he smashed up some other cars there. They wouldn't give him a refund even though they sold him the Subaru Outback. He warned him he was going to drive through the front, and he went out and he did drive through the front. Vehicle that he bought that obviously had problems. And they asked him later, he said, quote, I was just really angry. I was upset about my money. Obviously the dealership, the guy went crazy, but the dealership was being sleazy. We sold it as is. Well, listen to this. All states in the United States, to some degree, hold used car dealers responsible for pre-existing problems when they sell a car due to the federal used car ruler, which requires dealers to disclose known issues on a buyer's guide and apply a basic warranty, meaning the car should function as intended. Even though it says as is, they're still responsible for pre-existing conditions unless they warn you ahead of time and say, well, this vehicle needs an engine. Okay, I'll buy it cheap and I'll put an engine, right? They didn't tell them any of that stuff. There are laws out there, people. Don't listen to the horse manure that comes out of people's mouths. You can put a sign up in front of your house if you want that says, not responsible for murders that occur on my property. Guess what? That doesn't mean anything. They are responsible for pre-existing conditions unless they tell you. Let's say you're buying a car and the engine's blown. You know it's blown because it doesn't even run, right? They tell you, yeah, the engine's blown. And you buy it for $500 or something. Okay. Yeah, this guy bought a regular car at a regular price. They just didn't tell him the stuff that was wrong with it, and he wanted it back, and they wouldn't give him his money back. The only way most of the salesmen make any money is by selling. A lot of them have no salary at all. It's straight commission. Once they sell you a car, they're never going to give you your money back unless you take them to court, right? There are federal laws, and each state have different laws. Texas has stronger laws. Here's the Texas law. In Texas, if a dealer's conduct was intentional or egregious, a fraud claim can result in punitive damages, even if the car was sold as is. So check your local laws, of course, but it is a federal law. They cannot sell you a car that's got serious problems, that isn't running right, even though they say as is, because they're a dealership. Technically, this also applies in many states to individuals. If you buy a car from somebody, it's a junker. But the problem there, it says, do they know about it? Well, a private individual can say, well, I didn't know it had that problem, blah, blah. They can be lying through their teeth. But you could never prove that they actually knew about it, right? But a car dealership is supposed to have mechanics. And they are professionals. They should know if they're selling you junk or not. That is why all used car dealerships have large bonds. Usually it's at least $500,000, so that if somebody gets screwed over by them, the money comes out of that bond. They go to court, they sue them, or they say, hey, this car was just a pile of junk. Something happens where something's damaged when you buy the car and the wheels fall off. Right? They are bonded by law in almost every state that I know of. The used car dealerships have to be bonded, and they have to be bonded for that reason. Because if they try to pull a fast one, the bonds are there to back it up to give you your money back. And in cases like Texas, you could sue them for fraud. The bond would have to pay whatever the court decided to give you. So don't be fooled by as is. It's bunch of nonsense. Now, don't get mad and drive your car through. Something like that happens to you, get yourself a lawyer. And generally, just them sending a letter to the place, you'll get your money back because they don't want to deal with that. I did that for years in Houston for customers that got screwed over at used car dealerships. I'd say, hey, here's my friend, a lawyer. Have him write you a letter. They did. They almost always gave the money back because they don't want to get involved in being sued. They knew that they broke the law. Well, Tesla Cybertruck line workers, the guys that built them in a factory, are told to stay home. No need to report to work, they said. They're shutting them down for a while because guess what? They got too many of them that they can't sell. Now, I'm reading an article about it, and I laughed my butt off because listen to the article. The article says the Cybertruck has managed to climb to the top of the best-selling electric pickup trucks in the United States, surpassing the Ford F-150 Lightning. Now, that sounds like, oh, wow. Best only means more than the others. Here's the figures. Look at this. Ford sold 7,743 F-150 Lightning electric trucks in the first quarter of 2024. 7,743. Okay, so Tesla sold more than that. That is still hardly any at all. For example, in that same time period, Ford themselves sold 152,943 F-Series trucks. So, showing that the electric pickup trucks, don't listen to the nonsense that people throw out. Oh yes, look, it's the best-selling electric pickup truck. Yeah, but nobody's buying any of them, hardly at all, right? But there's 300-something million people in the United States, and 7,000 of them bought the Lightning pickup trucks. It is a spit in the bucket. So, don't be fooled by these figures that make it look like, wow, they're hot sellers, they're the best-selling one. Yes, but that's like saying those are the least smelliest products. Well, strange things are certainly afoot at Tesla because shares are up 64% since Trump got elected. Now, their sales aren't particularly up, but the stock's up. Now, this is one thing I've warned people throughout history about the stock market is people often buy on emotion. So they think, Musk supported Trump. Now his stock is up 64% since then. I think the problem, one of the big problems is everything is short term in our society today, right? So in the short term, people think, oh yeah, look, it's up. Let's buy. They don't ever think long term. They don't think that, well, gee, the sales aren't that much. Who knows if they're going to still have this electric car tax rebate? Who knows what's going on, right? But the fact is, it's at an all-time record high. It's going insane. Just like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, it was almost $100,000. At the present moment, it's $101,000. Whew! That's crazy. Does anyone realize that one of the main uses of Bitcoin was money laundering and dirty deals? Worldwide. That was one of the biggest things it was used for. I met a guy when it had started up in Seattle. I thought, well, why is anybody even doing it? And the guy said, most of it is money laundering. Now, the beginning, this is way back, can be followed to some extent. The government can find people who did deals with Bitcoin and take them back and whatever. Just like Tesla. It really doesn't make any sense why the stock is up 64% in a month. They haven't come up with any great products, right? Their Cybertruck's a massive failure. My advice is, if you're in it for the long term, stay away from the stock market, at least for the next few years, because it's going to take a big hit at some point in time. It's bloated as can be, and every time it's bloated, it takes a fall. Don't ever jump on the stock market bandwagon. I remember something I read years ago. Guy said right before the Great Depression started when the stock market collapsed. I knew something was wrong when my taxi cab driver in New York City was giving me stock advice. They believe in the belief, they think, and yeah, in the short run, if you're lucky, you get in, get out fast. But in the long run, no, it doesn't work out. Not when things are bloated. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.